September is National Recovery Month, meant to raise awareness for mental health and addiction.
WHSV's Kayla Brooks has a series of reports for us this week to explore different aspects of recovery. She joins us live now here in our studio with today's story on substance abuse. Hi, Kayla.
Addiction is a persistent urge to use a substance, and recovery often looks like support groups, counseling, maybe a hospital stay, and often abstinence from the substance. A 2020 study published by the Recovery Research Institute shows about 9% of U.S. adults live with some type of substance use disorder. But the CDC's study says on average, 3 out of 4 people with substance use disorder will recover. Martha Sheridan with Augusta Health says substance abuse is not a choice. It is a disease, and often addiction starts with a split-second decision.
You know, somebody says, try this, it'll help you feel better. And, they'll try something, and all of a sudden they're finding themselves wanting it more and more and more and more. So people can start from different places.
Sometimes people become reliant on pain medication after surgery. If you are struggling with addiction, there are many resources. Strengthened Peers can help you take that first step toward recovery. SAMHSA also has a hotline you can call for more information, 1-800-662-4357. There are always people in your corner rooting for you. Recovery from drug addiction may be complex, but it's very possible. I'll be back here tomorrow for part 2 in this week-long series. Kyle and Chelsea. Chelsea, recovery from alcoholism often consists of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and counseling. Sometimes a person has to detox. After this, they'll likely abstain from drinking. It's a hard process, but with people in your corner, it is very doable. Alcohol is legal and very common in American society, so that's what makes recovery difficult. And since it's widely accepted, sometimes it can be hard to decide when to get help. When alcohol negatively impacts many aspects of your life, it may be time to seek treatment. But Martha Sheridan with Augusta Health says you can tell a difference quickly.
Just like there's signs and symptoms of chemical dependence, of alcohol addiction, there's also signs and symptoms of recovery. You can see people begin to feel more confident and to feel better and to be engaging in activities that they used to enjoy.
Sheridan says this is the case when a person goes to counseling and AA. By simply abstaining, they may end up in a worse mood. 1 out of 3 people with alcoholism fully recover. The others do reduce their alcohol use and report fewer issues. Give SAMHSA's hotline a call for more information on resources. I'll be back tomorrow for part 3 of this week-long series. Chelsea?
Almost 1 in 10 people in the U.S. are impacted by an eating disorder, whether it's anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, or another eating disorder.
Recovery is complex. It often continues for years. WHSV's Kayla Brooks has the 3rd part in her week-long recovery series. Hi, Kayla.
Eating disorders are the 2nd most deadly psychiatric disorder behind opioid use disorder. Anyone may be impacted by an eating disorder, and they look different for every person. In general, an eating disorder is any form of eating that causes you debilitating stress. Often the person will have physical symptoms like rapid weight loss, weakness, or fatigue, but sometimes it may just look like an obsession with food. Recovery is finding stability and letting yourself give up control.
When we think of recovery, it's more, again, getting to a place where, I can function, my health is more stable, perhaps, in some situation, my weight is more stable, my labs look better.
For help, talk to your doctor or a counselor or a loved one and call the National Eating Disorder Association to find out where you can get help. For the last 2 years, I have been in recovery from an eating disorder. I was in college when enjoying exercise turned into over-exercising. I became obsessed with food and my clothing size. My days were focused around cutting calories and how many hours I could spend at the gym. I eventually realized I was in a bad place. I started going to counseling. Now I enjoy my dinners out and I work out for fun. You are not meant to fight alone. Reach out for help to be able to enjoy eating, to be able to have fun without overthinking what you're eating. It is all worth it. I'll be back here tomorrow for part 4 in this special series. Kyle and Chelsea, back to you.
Self-harm impacts about 17% of people in the country.
Self-injury is intentional harm without fatal intentions.
WHSV's Kayla Brooks joins us now with part 4 of her series on recovery. Kayla.
Kyle and Chelsea, the average age of first incident for self-harm is 13 years old. Although it's often thought to be an issue for teens, that is not the case. It continues to impact many adults as well. Self-harm often happens alongside things like depression, anxiety, or OCD. Recovery from self-harm is all about having the skills and tools to manage intense feelings of anger or loneliness. Another piece is having a support system of loved ones and professionals. Finally, learning to be more self-compassionate and forgiving.
Recovery from that involves being able to hopefully stop, but at minimum reduce those behaviors so that it is not disrupting your life, that you're able to work, you're able to parent, do the things you want to do without feeling sort of consumed by that.
Treatment for self-harm often happens alongside other therapy, like for depression. And that's just to say there isn't much information about how many people do recover, but there is life after self-harm. The urges fade away, and there are so many resources. Self-harm is not shameful, and you should ask for help, whether that's from a professional or a loved one. There are also hotlines you can call or text, like the ones here. Kyle and Chelsea, I'll be back here tomorrow for the final piece of this series.
For every person dealing with addiction, alcoholism, or mental health issues, there are also loved ones who are impacted.
So when someone in your life is in recovery, it may be time for you to seek help too. WHSV's Kayla Brooks has the final part of her special report on recovery.
It can be very hard to be a friend, spouse, or family member to someone in recovery. Mental health professionals recommend groups like Al-Anon for the loved ones of people in recovery. Martha Sheridan with Augusta Health says there are some main do's and don'ts. Do get help for yourself. A private counselor or group therapy can be helpful. You'll need to work through any resentment, guilt, trust issues, or shame. On top of that, do not feel like you can fix another person's addiction.
People aren't ready to quit until they're ready to quit. And if we can, by us understanding that the addict or the alcoholic, we can actually, that's the best thing we can do.
By getting help, you can offer that support without enabling. Over the last week, I've explored all types of recovery. The message all week has been the same. You are not alone. You don't have to be in it alone. And that's still true today. We've got resources from all this week on our website, WHSV.com. In the studio, Kayla Brooks, WHSV.